Welcome back. Do you want to learn how to animate with AngularJS? Well, yes, AngularJS allows you to animate the UI, and I'll tell you what, it gets a little complicated. So if you want to do neat stuff like this fade in, fade out, and then you have the slide, they're mostly CSS3 transitions, and the only thing that's done by AngularJS is the changes of classes. So to really get a good understanding of animation, you should go to this site because AngularJS version 1.2 changed their directives for animation. 1.1 had a directive called ng-animate, and now that's no longer used. So instead you have these directives, and you can scroll through this site called yearofmoo.com. And there's three main ways to animate. And the first thing you have to do is include the module. So ng-animate is the module. And while you're here, go into your app.js folder or file and go ahead and include that ng-animate. So type in comma ng-animate, save, and now you're ready to animate. But before we start, I'll tell you that you need specific directives for it to work. And for this example, you have ng-repeat and a filter, which I didn't go over in this section because it's just a quick jump start. But this is what happens. Like, remember when I showed you for the inputs, how classes are generated, you have the ng pristine, ng dirty. Well, with an object that is inside something like ng repeat, if you scroll down, I think this site mentions what you can run it as right here. Yeah, so for the animation to work, it's got to be inside a directive like ng repeat, ng include, and ng view. We have ng view, so that's where we can animate, and you have these classes. So any code, any CSS styles you put in under these classes, you can start your animation. So just remember, ng enter active. That means once a page loads and the element stays, that's the active state. And then when it leaves, same thing. So you have like the styles you can set to whatever you want. So that's one way, and this is right here how you would do it. Then you have another way, which is just a custom function using the JavaScript animation API. So like I said, this can get pretty complex, but I'm going to show you the quickest way possible. So go ahead and back to your editor, have ng-animate included, and we have the let's open your main.css file. So you're gonna have to go here and create ng-enter and ng. Yeah, I'm just looking at my notes here so I can show you your ng-leave. So we're gonna do the opacity. So ng-enter, do WebKit transition 1s. So it's gonna be a duration of 1 second, and then actually for this, let's make it faster, like half a second. And for ng-enter, the same thing, WebKit transition 1 second, transition 1 second. And what the all does is apply that transition on any property that you change. And then you need ng-enter and ng-leave active. So this is where it gets a little complicated. Basically, an item when it enters, so If I look at the source code here, inspect, re-enter. Now we're gonna have some problem. Called object. What did we do? So we have ng animate. We included that. Oh, so I did forget to include two steps to include the module, and that is the script, actual script. So here you're injecting it, but you still need it here. So insert the script from AngularJS's CDN. So let's call it the same thing, angularjs.org, version 1.2.18, angular.animate.minify.js. Okay, now the error should be cleared. Yep, no error. Okay, so reload. Look at that code here. So yeah, enters, and you don't see the ng enter, do you? That's because it does it so fast. See, there we had it. So if you watch here again, ng enter active, it takes like a second, and then it goes away. So that's how it works, and let's complete this section under CSS. So an ng enter opacity is 0, and then ng leave, ng enter, ng dash enter active, opacity is 1. So what basically happens is when something enters and it stays active, it's going to stay an opacity of 1. And then this is going to leave, and it's going to be opacity of 0, meaning it's going to disappear. So save, and let's see if that worked. There you go. Faded in. We switch pages, and it fades out, fades in. Nice and smooth. I think if you erase this, there was some jerkiness. That's why I had it in there. But if you do that, it doesn't work so well. So you just save those and keep them in there, and that way it's a little bit smoother. So now you see the ng active enter is working like it's supposed to. Okay, now let's go ahead and animate the sliding of this. So right now when we get the right answer, it just automatically changes to the next question, cycles like we made it in the watch function. But this time let's make it slide up and down. So we're going to add more styles. Let's just go ahead and add them after the ng. And this time we're going to call it flip. So flip of class, add some margin top. So we're going to add a flip dash add class, and that's going to make it go up 50% of the margin. And to enable that animation, we just have the class flip WebKit for better compatibility transition. Make this half a second transition, and the original state is just going to be 0 for the margin, and that's all you need for now. So if you look at the play.html, we have a class in there, and we save it. Let's see if something happens. We reload, fades in, nothing happened. Well, nothing happened because, as you can see, the class is flip, so we only have this on here, margin top, we need to way to enable this class. So this is where ng or AngularJS comes into play. What we're gonna do is add another ng directive here called ng class. So there's multiple ways to do this, multiple ways to skin a cat, and definitely same thing with AngularJS. And this is just one way to do it that I'm going to show you. In here, we're just going to say my class, and right now technically it's like a variable, and it's going to get activated or changed by Angular based on what we do with our scope. So as you can see here in the next question, what we want to happen is animate or add that class to the top here of flip.add, because if we add this, that's going to make that margin go to the top and make the content slide out. So go to your controller.js, and where you have next question, I think that would be a good place to add your function. Well, actually, let's add it here, the watch. So before you change the next question, and after it's correct, we're going to animate. So scope, and this is where we add a new variable, my class, like I mentioned earlier, and I'm going to assign this to flip add. So it's going to dynamically change the class of here. It's going to add this, and let's see if it works. So save this, reload, refresh, type in yes, bam, it worked, disappeared. So how do we make it come back? Well, it gets a little more tricky now, because we're using the ng model over here, and over here it cycles through the questions instantly. So we have to think of a way to have a delay, and to do that, for example, you would want to say first step is the added next question, and then you would want to remove that class or clear it. So let's say it could be blank, right? It should work. Refresh, type in yes. Oh, guess what happened? Nothing. Actually, it did happen. It changed the class, but it happened so quickly that there was really no time for the animation to happen. So let's double check to see if we have the class here. So yeah, flip, we're looking for flip and ng class. We refresh, and then look at this, see what happens. Does it change or not? Nope, we couldn't really see it. So we're going to have to add some delay. And then you have the JavaScript set timeout function, but it's a little bit quirky. So AngularJS and its magic is here to help. Scroll to the top of your controller, and we're going to inject a new object called timeout. Now this is AngularJS's object that works really neat. It works better, so cleaner than the original JavaScript timeout, and here's how it works. Pretty much almost the same way. Go back to your controller, set timeout just with the timeout object, and then make it a function inside. So it's a little, what am I doing here? Okay, let's clean this code up. Okay, right now we got it. Copy this into the timeout, and then set an interval of, since we're using half a second, right? Did we use a half a second? Yeah. So we're using a half a second for it to flip up. Let's make it half a second to flip down. So 500 is half a second. That means after half a second it's going to assign the scope class back to nothing. So it's going to remove it actually, and it should come back down. Let's see if it works. Are you ready? Type and yes. Bam! We got it coming up and down. So you still don't see that really because it's happening behind the scenes with the AngularJS magic. That's what I meant. I've been using jQuery for a while, but AngularJS is new and it's awesome stuff. It's just more magic than jQuery. So now we cycle through, type in no, 2. There you go, yes. And you can do this forever. You want to quit, and look how far we've got in this amount of time. Is AngularJS cool? Think so. Let's add yes. Got that. Play. Here we go again. Yes. 2. Yes. Bang, bada bing, bada boom. You're on your way to completing your first AngularJS app. Way to go.